Thank you very much, Niall, and thank you to the organisers for inviting me to present this short talk on AquaSpace. We just had our first meeting. That's the sort of the front thing you're seeing there. It's the first slide I made for AquaSpace project a few weeks ago. So we haven't done much since that time. So I'm just going to tell you really about the proposal. We started off with a group of people in a hotel in Amsterdam, as I suppose lots of projects do start off that way. It was we got funding from MASTS, the Marine Alliance for Science and Technology, Scotland, who I'm pointing to over there, which was great. And interestingly enough, about the first person to buy a ticket to come to the meeting, despite the fact that he wasn't going to get any money from the proposal, was John. So it's really fitting that John from Canada's up here with me today to talk about the project a year and a half later. SAMS, this is my little picture which I put up for the Scottish Tourist Board, and it shows our site, and it's at the end of a fjordic location where fish farming, as it is in Norway, is a very common and typical activity. So it's a good place, and we have kind of really begun in the last several years to kind of have a real major theme on aquaculture. You're very welcome to visit us. It's, despite its modern appearance, SAMS has its genesis in 1884. It was started by Sir John Murray, well, its predecessor organisation with a different acronym, I suppose, if they used acronyms at that time. But he was a naturalist on the Challenger expedition, which many of you will know as the prototype oceanographic expedition. So John Murray founded our predecessor, so we can rightly claim to have 131 years of history. Okay, to the project. We are quite a small project compared with certainly the first one we had about this. Well, yeah, the several that we've had about. We're only 3 million, only 3 million. But with that 3 million, we're going to do a lot of good. Unfortunately, because of my sight difficulties, I'm not actually able to read very much of either of these. But we've got, I've outlined in blue there, SAMS, the coordinator, NOAA. They don't have a number, they have a star, I'll tell you why in a minute, and Dalhousie. So I just did that this morning because I thought, well, this is about the Atlantic and the Galway Agreement. So the reason why NOAA don't get a number is because they're not formally a participant, and that's because, and I believe my project officer, who I haven't met, is in the room somewhere, but he'll smile when he hears this, because see, NOAA found it, the lawyers, not the scientists, found it very difficult to actually sign up as a participant in an EU project, and perhaps I shouldn't use this forum to say that shouldn't be so, but to my mind it shouldn't be so. I think my understanding is the lawyers are very worried about being taken to court by the highly litigious Scots. That was really a joke. It was. So I don't think that was. We don't take anyone to court. So they're kind of, certainly for the Scottish coordinated projects, they should have no trouble, in my view, signing. Anyway, so what they come into very appropriately is a third party. So they really act as if they were a participant. It's only administrative because they weren't getting any money anyway. So they're in as a third party to SAMS, and we've managed to squeeze that tortuously into the definition of third party to allow them to participate. And as a proper participant, we've got Dalhousie in the shape of John, which essentially gives us this Galway credential, if you like. We've also got partners across a whole range of European countries, including some things which are not marine. It's not an entirely marine project. There's some freshwater there. We're very pleased to have some freshwater input from a variety of places, but particularly from Hungary. I've never worked with them before. Looking forward to that very much. There is a website, and it's got some information on it, not an enormous amount, but write it all down. The central goal of AquaSpace project is to provide increased space of high water quality for aquaculture by adopting an ecosystem approach to aquaculture using marine spatial planning to deliver food security and increased employment opportunities through economic growth. So the ecosystem approach to aquaculture is a kind of concept which was developed by a group of us, but run by FAO a few years ago, and its 3 pillars are ecological sustainability, social equity, and harmonisation of multiple uses. So this idea of multiple uses is already in there. So MSP is, there's several definitions. This is the one given out by our DEFRA in England. MSP is strategic, forward-looking planning for regulating, managing and protecting the marine environment, including through allocation of space that addresses the multiple, cumulative and potentially conflicting uses of the sea. I bet that statement took weeks to craft, but it's got a lot of good words in it. And that's what we're going to do. we're going to have a case study approach, and we've been benefited from having our North American case studies there, and we've also got our case studies in Australia and in China to add a kind of global dimension to what is typically a European-driven project. And the top line there is that the sort of the thing which distinguishes this from the normal kind of routine, if you like, project, I think, from my perspective, my experience, is that we're going to very deliberately go out and participate with local stakeholders to co-create this idea of co-production of knowledge. So in other words, we don't simply impose our predetermined views on what people want, but we actually ask them what they need, and we try to be flexible in the project to allow us to deliver what they actually need. So to some extent, it's a difficult thing to write in a proposal that we don't know what we're going to do because we have to wait to find out what's needed. It's not quite as bad as that because we already have some ideas, but we are not going to go into all these case studies and tell people what they need. So one of the other contexts to this is, so maybe some of you don't know that fisheries no longer provides most of the seafood that we eat. It's aquaculture. That's been the case for probably a year or two, although we'll wait till the FAO statistics are finally out. But the other thing that you may not know is that European fish production from aquaculture is steadily rising. That's the red line. But EU fish production is pretty stagnant. And the difference between the two is Norway. Essentially, that's the difference between Europe and Norway, is that difference there. And so why is that? So that's really the question. Why is that stagnant? Why does Europe not have more? And, well, I won't go into this. It looks pretty boring, as I say, the work package structure, or conventional, rather. It's basically about finding out what the issues are, work package 2, finding out what types of solutions people have found to these issues in the past, or what models, what procedures, what guidelines, what visualizations, what it is that's going to help that solution. Apply these in all these particular case studies according to the needs, and then try to do a bit of feedback between the tailoring the solution better. We'll learn something about these so-called solutions. Maybe they didn't work, and we'll learn something about that, and we'll feed that back in. Then we'll synthesize it. So the bottom line is this knowledge exchange, which goes throughout the project, and it's an exchange between the participants that we're dealing with externally and the participants in the project internally. So that's basically, yeah, you don't need to read that. Look at the website. So proposed work in Scotland, we're going to focus this in Scotland. This is our draft plan, if you like, on two counties, if you like, 2 areas of Scotland, Argyll and Bute on the west, and the Shetland Islands in the north, which are very, very different, geographically different, culturally different in many respects, connectedness different, and economically different. We're going to keep working on the spatial aspects of sea lice transmission between fish farms, because in Scotland and in all the salmon countries, the biggest problem by a whole mile is lice, and that has a planning issue because of the interaction between that and wild fish. We're going to look at high definition visualization of proposed planning operations and how that informs public opinion, and we're going to do this contrast of the policy, the process, the stakeholder understanding, the perception and the culture across these 2 areas, to see if we can learn something that's of value about why things are so different as they appear to be in the way that aquaculture is planned, despite the fact that they're under the same overall national planning policy, but that you get different outcomes. And why is that? So, and I'll just very briefly, we have management areas, as most people do, to help contain diseases. Are they the right areas? We're going to put hydrodynamical models together with where all the fish farm sites are, and we can connect them all up, and we can figure out whether they're the right things. That's just a kind of model. It's not a proper, we will do this properly in the project. Another thing we've just done, which is worth showing, it's a bit of an effort in terms of computing. We've got a 25 metre by 25 metre digital elevation model of Scotland. We've actually got it the whole of Europe, but we've only got for Scotland the data on where all the houses are. So we put all of the houses data together with the digital elevation, and we can actually set the computer a fairly simple task, which takes it several months, which is to find out which bits of water are most viewed by houses and which bits are less viewed, because the visual impact is certainly an important aspect. It does take quite a chunk of computer time, but we managed to find a break of several months where it wasn't being used for very much, and so it is a several months job on quite a chunky computer. But that we're hoping to give that to Marine Scotland to put into the Scottish Marine Atlas. And just a few couple of slides about our NOAA. Suzanne Bricker, who's leading the NOAA part of this project, couldn't unfortunately make it to this meeting. She's given me a few slides for the kick-off meeting, and I'm only going to be a couple of them here. But it's basically the thrust of her work, her and her colleagues in different institutions, is merging modelling and mapping to improve shellfish aquaculture site selection. And there's a couple of sites they're looking at. One's in the Connecticut waters of Long Island Sound, and the other one is in Great Bay Piscata. Is that Piscataka? No, I can't say it. Someone tell me what it is. It's between Maine and New Hampshire. Piscataway. Thank you very much. So that's the other site that she's going to be studying, and it's this idea of connecting models and GIS type stuff. And with that, I'm showing you the website address again so you can write it down if you haven't already. I'm going to give it over to John.